Hey, hello everybody. It's time for Mr. Knott's Art Studio. Today we are going to be making twisted tubes. So let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be making right here. So what we're going to learn to do is draw some tubes and make them look three-dimensional. This one's a kind of a simple drawing of them, and I'm going to show you how to make one that's a little more complicated, but it's the same simple skill, but it's going to look really cool. So we're going to jump right in on this. Get you a pencil, get you a piece of paper. I'm going to do this on a half piece of paper so I can draw more in less time. All right, so here we go. So these are twisted tubes. Now let's take, first of all, let's take a look at this one. All right, what we're going to be working on is we're going to first of all make a line that is same width all the way around, okay? And then we're also going to be overlapping them, and we also going to do the shading on this. So we're going to have our light source coming in from this direction, so it's going to be shaded. So I'm going to show you how to do the shading, and then we're going to even put a cast shadow down, and I can probably show you a pretty cool trick that we can do with this afterwards. All right? So with the twisted tubes, first of all, you want to start out with drawing light, like we always do, kind of our secret lines that aren't going to be seen yet. So I'm going to start out with a tube that does something like that, okay, or a line that starts out like that. I want to do another one. I want to do two tubes on this one. We're going to have it do that. So this can get as complicated as you want. You don't want to just go, because then you won't be able to keep up with where you're at. You don't want to get too complicated. You want it to have a nice effect to this. Then what I want to do is I want to make a line that matches this line right beside it. Okay? It's going to stay the same distance apart, so you can't do that quite as fast. You want to keep it the same distance from here to here as you do it down here. You want to keep it, you don't want it to be getting fat and skinny. You want to try to keep it the same all the way through. Go ahead and draw over these lines. This one's a fun one to do. Once you make it and do it once, it's not real hard to do, and you could do this just for fun, just kind of as you're doodling while you're watching TV, hanging out with your friends, sitting in a boring meeting. You can make these tubes. I'm going to bring this line up a little bit more. Don't worry about making yours exactly like mine. Don't try to match my lines. Just swirl it around a little bit, because you're learning the rules of how to do this, not necessarily trying to copy my piece of artwork exactly. Keep following it on around. Now, if you want to, you can just work on one tube. Make sure you let it overlap. Let the lines run into each other, cross each other, because that's what's going to make it look really cool. These are called hairy lines. Look like there's a bunch of hair on them. When you sit there and go back and forth too much, you want to try to avoid that. And at the end of this one, I want to put a little oval shape so we can see it and it looks like a little tube. We're going to do another one right here. I'm going to kind of clean up this hairy line right here. Y'all don't hesitate to share my videos. You can go look at them on my YouTube channel, Mr. Knott's Art Studio. Also, I upload them at the end of the week. We're going to go ahead and do this tube also, okay? So I'm going to copy this line right beside it. Go ahead and cross over. Coming around. Keep coming around. This is a good lesson to practice your three-dimensional drawing. Also, the rules of three-dimensional. I'm going to bring this tube on up where mine kind of overlap there. I'll put an end on that one. Okay. Clean this up right here. So we have two lines going, and that wasn't very hard to do. But now we're going to work on where it overlaps, where one tube is overlapping the other. We can see through them here. So what I do is I like to do the kind of an over-under approach. Have it go over one time, have it go under the next. Over, and it doesn't always fall like that, but most of the time it does. So I'm going to follow my tube here, and I want it to go over. I want this tube to go over this one. So what I have to do is erase the one that I want underneath. So I'm erasing it right there. Okay, and then I come around, and now I want it to go under this. So it went over this time, I want it to go under this time, so I am going to erase it here. So now it gives the appearance that it is going under the tube. So it went under, now I want it to go over. So you erase the one that you want. So now it's going over. Oh, I want to go under. Come around, so that's going under. So I want it to go over here. And then under. It's kind of funny. Most of the time when I do this, it will naturally. See, I went under, and it goes over. And look, it's already set to go under, over. And I want it to go under here. Now, yours might not come out like that, so it's okay. Just as long as it's weaving in and out. That's what you don't want it to just stay on top. So under, we want to go over here. All right, so I've followed that first tube all the way down. Now let's look at the second tube. I'll start here. Okay, I want to go over. I just had a low battery signal, so I'm going to have to try to plug it in here in just a second. Okay, so it's going to go over, come around, and it's going under there. Well, here I want to, it's already going under. I would go over, but it's already going under, so that's okay. So, and then it's going to go under here, over here, under here. So it's that one's already taken care of. So let me go ahead and try to get my phone plugged in here so we don't lose out in the middle of the show. Okay, just bear with me just for a second. Okay, nice. I'm going to straighten this up here where I got my tube thinner. Now it's time to work on the shading. Let's say our light source is coming in from this direction. So everything on this side of the tube is going to be darker. And it's also going to be darker on the underside of the tube. So I'm going to, I'll start out right here. Well, this is on the underside. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to add in just a little bit of shading right in here. You don't want to sit there and make it really dark, grind it in, because we're going to be blending this out. So I'm just adding just a little bit of shading in here. If you just sit there and make a black line, it just looks silly. I don't know how else to describe it. It just looks jacked up. This is on the left side of my tube, so I'm following along that left side of that tube, just kind of giving a little bit of shading. I got on another side. So far, I've been kind of on one side of the tube, but here, it's gonna change. It's gonna swap over to this side because light is gonna start hitting that side. So come here. It's really fun to take this one and just fill the entire page. I mean, fill all the space up with these tubes that look three-dimensional. All right, and so I've done the underside, I've done the left side of this, and then it swaps over. That light's going to come in and hit this side of this tube, and it's going to start, and so it's going to cast a shadow on this side. Notice how I'm holding my pencil kind of on the side. What happens is as you draw for a little bit or color with it a little bit, it flattens that out and gives you kind of a wider pencil lead to work with. And so it's on the underside here, still on the underside. It's going to move over to it's going to keep going here, going down the left side. I'm going to smooth out some of my shading a little bit. It's a little rough. You don't want to just throw down some lines and then try to smudge it or smooth it out immediately. You want to try to build up that pencil lead to give you something to work with. I guess a good example would be like trying to paint your house. Well, here, let me give you a half a can of paint, and you spread that paint over your entire house. It's not going to work very well. So the pencil is kind of like your paint. So now I'm going to take my stipple. You can also use your finger. I like to use a stipple. Sometimes you'll see me throw my finger in there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth that out, and I'm going to push that lead out towards the side that's the lighter side of that tube. And you can do the same thing with color. If you have color pencils or something you like to work with, do the same exact thing. You'll be shaded on one side, just have color. You could have different colored tubes. So I'm going to smooth that out. I'll show you how it works with a finger. You don't have as much control of it with your finger. It kind of goes wherever it wants. You could actually create a maze like this too. That'd be kind of fun. Anytime I teach you something, take what you can from it and expand on it. Push it to another level. Do something different with it. Add to it. All right. There's also going to be shading where it overlaps. I worked on it a little bit. Like right here, this tube is on top, so it's going to make a shadow right here and right here. And same thing here. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing my shading, what I do is you'll see I'll do exactly what you saw me do. I lay out a kind of a basic shade and I'll smooth it out. Then I go back in and I add in kind of an extra pop, an extra shadow to it to make it really stand out. Because when you do smudge it, it kind of flattens your picture out some. So then I go back in. This is where I start fine-tuning the details. I'm going to add a little bit extra dark around that edge there, and that's going to make it pop. You can compare. I just added a little bit darker shading right in here and here, but compare this area to this one. See, this one looks like it's popping out a lot more. I'm going to add just a little bit here. A lot of people think their artwork looks better when they smudge it. And they go like this and they smudge the whole thing. Well, I think what happens is it kind of makes the picture look blurry, and they can't see their own mistakes as well. So they're going, wow, look, my artwork's so good. But there's some amazing pieces of artwork that just look like blurry paint or blurry pencil marks or charcoal. And you look at it, and I mean, it's like a hidden picture, and you just look at it, and it just pops out. Sometimes I just love stuff like that. Something about art is that find something that you like, you enjoy, pieces of art that you enjoy. Don't worry about if somebody else likes it or not. I mean, even Vincent van Gogh in his time, people weren't really into his style of art. But now people really like it. I used to not care anything about Vincent van Gogh's artwork. I was just like, it's just really not much to it. And I mean, it just kind of looks splotchy and blurry to me. But then I had the opportunity to see a piece of artwork by Vincent van Gogh at the Frist in Nashville. And my mouth just dropped open because it was just so amazing. The colors that popped out, the paint looked like it was 6 inches thick, and it's a huge painting. It's not the same as what you see in a calendar. Watching a video on something or seeing pictures or prints of something, it just is not the same as the real piece of artwork. So this is how it works, okay? This is the same basic idea, or it's a basic idea. You'll do that. You can do the same thing with this other tube. Follow the same rules. You know, as I did that shading, take the time to do that shading to make it pop. Where it's going to overlap, add it a little bit dark. Don't go crazy and grind it in. You just want to add a light little touch. I'm just barely touching my paper, adding a little bit at a time. I could spend probably a couple of hours on this piece of paper and make it look really cool. I'm going to show you a cast shadow. You can also add a cast shadow. You'll notice I did it on this one just a tiny bit, but you can add in a shadow on the dark side of your tubes, add it onto the paper right in here. And what that does is it makes the tube look like it is sitting on the paper. And if you do it just right, you can actually trick people. I love doing that sometimes to people. I'll draw something and I'll try to make it look so real that they'll actually pick it up. They'll try to pick it up off the table. All right? So I would do the same thing right here. I could do a little cast shadow right along in here. And you just have to play with it and be honest with yourself. When you look at it, take a look at it, step back. That's another great way to see if your artwork's how good your artwork is take a step back and look at it, because we have a tendency to be so close to our artwork that we don't see it. Step back and look at it and go, okay, hey, what can I do to make that even better? How can I make that look more real? All right. So I would continue on and do the same thing with the rest of that tube. So let me show you a trick here. Let me get a cutting board right quick. The wife, you probably wouldn't like it too much if I slice up the table. All right. So I have a knife here, but you can do this with a pair of scissors. All right. I'm going to zoom out here just a bit. And what you can do is you can actually cut part of your paper off. So here, I'm going to go around the edge here. If you have an X-Acto blade or something like that, so I want to make sure I'm coming straight across here. And this kind of adds to the three-dimensional effect. So it looks like part of your tube is on your paper and the other part is hanging off of your paper. Oh, I got a little bitty corner right there. This might be a little more challenging with a piece of with a pair of scissors, but not impossible. Not impossible. I'm mainly using the knife for speed. Yeah. So now it has an appearance that my tube is on my paper and then it actually runs off and it adds to that three-dimensional effect. All right. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Practice this, have fun with it, experiment. I would love to see your work. Send me a private message, whatever. Catch y'all later. May God bless all your adventures.